Welcome everyone to this review of Shovel Knight, the Plague of Shadow DLC, currently available for all the platforms that Shovel Knight is currently on. If you haven't played Shovel Knight yet, you need to go do that, and I mean you need to go do that immediately. Shovel Knight is one of, if not the best, retro-style experiences on the modern systems. Not only is it a throwback and retro and has so many references that you'll see, not only in its gameplay, but just lines of dialogue and everything else, but it also has enough core gameplay that anybody can pick up and play it and enjoy it. It's not an easy game by any means, it has just enough retro hard factor to the game that just is stellar. It's spectacular and easily one of my favorite games of last year. However, I recently platinumed the game and I've been sitting back and I've been waiting for this DLC to finally come out. The Plague of Shadow DLC is the first DLC for Shovel Knight, and features the Plague Knight, one of the Knights of No Quarter that was available as a boss in the original main game of Shovel Knight, but is now branched off and not only is playable, but actually has his own completely unique story. I was actually surprised at how much story and uniqueness was to Plague Knight by himself, so I can see why the game took a little bit extra in order to finally get out. Now, I'm not getting carried away and saying that everything is new here. It's not a completely new game by any means. You're still playing through the same basic setup as Shovel Knight. There's no new added levels to explore. It's the same levels with the same basic boss fights for the most part. It's just you're now playing as a new character who brings a whole new slew of abilities to the table. Unlike Shovel Knight, who was able to bounce off of enemies using the shovel like a pogo, you now have to use the boost ability. You can charge it up at any time and you blast forward. Kinda similar, but not exactly the same as Rocket Knight from Rocket Knight Adventures. In this game though, with Plague Knight, you have to time your boost so you can get up high. You can double jump, but you can only double jump once while in the air. So like if you boost, then you can jump again, but if you double jump then boost, you don't get another double jump. Learning these mechanics of just the jumping can be a lot of fun and really changes up the basic level design of each of the stages. The stages also, though, have new elements to them. There's new areas to explore if you're wanting to do so. Most of them are off the beaten path, like you don't actually have to go there, but you will be rewarded with unique items if you're willing to make the trek, and sometimes it's very difficult, and you have to be a real good master of Plague Knight's controls in order to make it through some of these new added areas. For his weaponry, Plague Knight uses bombs. This ends up being really cool, but also so different from Shovel Knight, it's like playing a whole new game here. You have a bomb that will arc when you throw it, but you can't throw the bomb straight down. Even if you're jumping in the air, you can't throw the bomb straight up. But there are changes you can do to the bombs to help you out. You have different styles of abilities, so you can maybe make the bomb last longer after you throw it, like build up a timer and then blow up, throw a couple of them that will build up to a bigger bomb, and then you have different types of bombs altogether. You'll have ones that you can throw higher up into the air like an arc, but then will blow up before they hit the ground, or you have ones that will be like a bubble, where you'll shoot them out and they'll kind of go like this in an arcing pattern up into the air in order to hit enemies. You even get homing ones that you can throw on the ground, and if an enemy goes within its radius, it'll then attack it. So there's tons of different ways to change up the gameplay, and you need to do so, I think, more so in this than in Shovel Knight. In Shovel Knight, there's a lot of really cool moves that you could get with him, but in the end, you could still beat almost everything easily with just the plain old shovel. And while yes, it is possible to beat all the bosses still with just the normal bomb, you'll be much more rewarded and it'll be much easier experience to experiment a little bit with all of Plague Knight's different abilities. The story itself, which I won't spoil too much because it's actually really good and worth playing through the game just for the dialogue and everything going on, involves Plague Knight fighting all of the different knights himself in order to get their essences. He can then take these essences to make the ultimate potion. And the motivation for why he's doing so and the story that unfolds because of it is actually kind of adorable, so it's worth playing just for that. Along with just Plague Knight, you do have other characters that were not only in the Shovel Knight main story, but now have kind of more purpose. For example, the main counterpart to Plague Knight, instead of being Shield Knight like it was for Shovel Knight, is Mona. You may remember Mona in the town of Shovel Knight. She does one of the mini games, but now becomes a main focal character of this particular DLC, and is a very cool character on her own. She's really fleshed out as you're going through the different levels. Now you may be wondering also some things like, do you fight Plague Knight as Plague Knight. And I don't want to spoil everything, but you do get to fight Shovel Knight himself, and that fight alone is kind of worth this DLC and playing through it. Because it's a really cool fight getting to fight him, but he has all of his different abilities, and he uses them through the fight. Now, I have to speak about the difficulty, though, in the game. Now, it's always challenging, don't get me wrong, and there's nothing wrong with the level of challenge. It's just the right amount, but it takes so much more getting used to. Some areas, because they're mostly the same in a lot of ways, especially boss fights, the bosses are now either really, really easy or really frustratingly hard. One thing that I felt with Plague Knight over Shovel Knight is he gets bounced back farther, like you have farther knockback. And because of this, and consistently I was in the air trying to hover over enemies in order to throw the bombs directly down, I was finding myself more often than not being knocked backwards into pits. Bosses, on some cases though, I would just run in and just bomb the crap out of them and they're dead in a second, and other ones I was trying 3, 4, or 5 times. Let me just say, Propeller Knight is a pain in the butt. At least he was for me during the Plague of Shadows DLC. Now you may be also wondering something like, how long is the DLC itself? Is it the full game? And it is. You're going to be fighting all of the knights, including a few extra battles that weren't in the main Shovel Knight game, so in fact it may be a tad bit longer in storyline than Shovel Knight, but you don't have the campfire sequences that you had in Shovel Knight, so either way the games are probably about the same length. For this replay of the game, it did take me 3.5 hours. I did take a brief break during it, and I did have quite a bit of struggle, like I said, during the Propeller Knight fight. So it's pretty much how long it's going to take you to replay the game and learn the whole new control scheme. So some gamers are going to be able to breeze through it in an hour, hour and a half, and other ones it may take 4 or 5 hours in order to get through some of the tougher aspects of the game. I do have to mention also there is some new music in the game, so the soundtrack, which is already so unbelievably amazing from Shovel Knight, there is some new music added just specifically to the Plague Knight DLC, so that's worth listening to, and I hope it gets released on its own so that I can pick up those extra tracks and add them to the already amazing soundtrack that I currently have. Now, besides just the main game, you do also get the challenge mode. After completing the game as Plague Knight, you can then do his challenge mode, and you can do the same for Shovel Knight once you complete the game with Shovel Knight. Now, in order to access Plague Knight by himself, you already have to have beaten the game. If you're one of those people that may have deleted their save and all, you're in luck, as you can unlock him instantly with a code that Yacht Club Games themselves even gave out on their Twitter. So if you want to jump right to Plague Knight, even if you haven't played the game before, or you did but you may have deleted your old save or anything like that, you can play Plague Knight right away, as long as of course you still have the main Shovel Knight game. So in conclusion, the Plague Knight DLC was worth the wait. I can see why it took a little bit to craft the whole new storyline that was going on with it, the few added bits and elements here. Now, maybe I missed something new that was added to it because I mainly played through the straight main game, so there may have been a couple things I even missed, but there is a couple other new things, including, like I said, a couple of new boss fights that are well worth playing through the DLC just to experience them. In the end, I'm going to give the game a 7. I was going to give it a little bit low because I was trying to judge it based on there wasn't as much new stuff as I may have wanted to like, but the story's good, the added music's good, and the extra boss battles are definitely worth playing the DLC just for them alone. And you're getting double the length of time, technically. It's a free DLC, and you're getting as long of a game as the main game. I mean, how many times does DLC come out and ends up being only like 1/5 of the time the main game ends up taking? So when I factor all that in, it's a good DLC, and I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. But with that though, that's going to wrap up this review of Shovel Knight, the Plague of Shadows DLC. Well worth your time. If you haven't played Shovel Knight, go do that. After you watch this, go play Shovel Knight. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.